Hey guys, what's going on? It's Rick and I'm here with my August review video. I'm recording this on Sunday, September the 8th. Rocking my Eagles jersey. They just beat the Washington Redskins in the season opener for them. It didn't start off too great, but it ended amazingly for Eagles fans. But yeah, I'm going to dive right in. Now, I will make a note here. Watched 17 movies this month, but I've actually watched more than that. As you guys might know, I think I mentioned it before, started watching the Harry Potter movies for the first time. I had never personally seen any of them except for the first hour of the first movie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my own video for all 8 movies once I've finished them up. I figured it'd be interesting to do a video from the perspective of somebody who has like no background on Harry Potter or Harry Potter lore at all. So that'll be coming up probably in a while. I still, like I said, have 4 movies to watch. Probably the end of the month, maybe early October. So I'm going to dive right in. The review video. So the first thing here is a physical release I have, and it is the Blu-ray of D2, The Mighty Ducks. Sat down with RJ and Bridget to watch this one. RJ had never seen D2. He liked The Mighty Ducks but didn't love it, and it took a while for me to like get him to sit down and watch this, and I kind of just made the decision like, we're gonna watch D2. I think you're gonna like it more than the first one. I do. So it was a nostalgia watch for me for sure. A movie I haven't seen in a very, very long time. This is my favorite Mighty Ducks movie of the trilogy. I would rank them 2, 1, and then the third one way below them. I do have to rewatch the third one at some point, but I'm not really looking forward to rewatching that, as I remember not liking that nearly as much as the first 2. I think this movie has better pacing than the first movie. I think there's more fun in it. I think the hockey is better and more entertaining in this film as well. I keep looking at my notes. The rivalry is really good in this between Iceland and the Mighty Ducks, or Team USA. I also like the subplot with Emilio Estevez becoming like a corporate guy and the team's there to play hockey. Kenan Thompson, along with some of the other characters that are introduced in this movie, really add to it, I believe. And it gives the franchise a much-needed shot in the arm. I don't hate the first movie. I think it's good. I don't think it holds up as well, but this movie I really found to be entertaining and enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. The next movie I saw was Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs Shaw. And I believe that was my last movie with AMC A-List. I know I mentioned it before. We switched over to Regal Unlimited. That's another video I plan on doing in the near future. The Regal Unlimited experience versus the AMC A-List experience. And what are my thoughts? I've had Regal just over a month, so I was waiting to get a month or 2 under my belt to fully compare them, since we had AMC A-List for 3 months. So that's coming, not to steer off. So if you go into Hobbs & Shaw expecting a well-written, like Oscar-worthy film, you're obviously delusional. You should probably get yourself checked out, because if you've seen any of the Fast and Furious movies, you know the movies are just big, dumb, entertaining blockbusters. There's not a well-written story. The plots are very convoluted. However, they're a fun time, and Hobbs & Shaw is no different. The relationship between Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham is amazing. Their interaction is great. Some of the cameos in the movie, with the potential of doing sequel to Hobbs & Shaw, make me really excited for the future of the franchise, if you will, the spin-off franchise. In my opinion, if you enjoy Fast and Furious 5 through 8 more than 1 through 4, which I do, I really don't care for the first 4 movies very much, but thought that they got much better after 5, well, 5 on. Fast 5 is still probably my favorite of the Fast and Furious movies. Definitely one of the best popcorn movies of the year. Just fun, mindless, over the top, good time. So Hobbs and Shaw, I give a 3.5 out of 5 to. And the next thing we saw was our first Regal Unlimited movie, and that was The Farewell. And to step away from that for a second, a movie like The Farewell is one of the reasons why we switched from AMC A-List to Regal Unlimited. We have one AMC theater by us, and it's a very small 9-screen theater, and they don't play many, I don't want to say obscure movies, but smaller movies. They mainly just play big blockbusters, and I think like when Midsummer was there, it was only there for a week. But I'm sure they're still playing The Lion King, or were playing it until recently, even though it's been out for a few months now, and it's only a 9-screen theater. So we went and saw The Farewell, which stars Awkwafina, and it's basically about Awkwafina going back to visit her family because she finds out her grandmother is basically going to pass away. She's extremely sick, and it basically compares how things are where she's from to the US and how they go about handling stuff, how families handle death. And Awkwafina was amazing in the movie. I really think she deserves a Best Actress nomination at the Oscars for her performance. Me personally, I keep kind of saying this over and over in general conversation, along with in videos that you guys have watched, but she needs a lead in an R-rated comedy. She shined in Ocean's 8, Crazy Rich Asians. She was hilarious in, and I think her in an R-rated comedy, it's very much the way I felt about Tiffany Haddish after seeing Girls Trip. I thought that she needed to be the lead in an R-rated comedy. That hasn't exactly happened. She's definitely gotten a ton of roles, but has she been the star of an R-rated comedy? No, she's been the star of some PG-13 comedies, which it's not right for her, in my opinion. And Awkwafina has done well with the roles she's been given in PG-13 movies, but I think in the right R-rated comedy, Awkwafina would shine. She proved in this movie she could pull off dramatic roles just as well as comedic roles. So the story is very heartwarming, but also heartbreaking. Like I said, it's a family reunited after about 25 years. Awkwafina's parents moved to the United States, and the other family, it's been a while since I've seen it. I want to say they moved to China or Japan. I don't recall exactly. Like I said, this is the second week of September. We probably saw this the first week of August, so I'm about a month removed. There are a few scenes that drag on a bit too much. And the other refreshing thing I will say about the movie is it was rated PG. So it's not very often that there's a live action film that's not, totally geared towards kids or young people. This is a movie that families can go see and watch together. It was rated PG. It was highly entertaining. They didn't need to add a ton of profanity or innuendos. It was funny and sad all on its own. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was an excellent movie and definitely worth checking out once it hits Blu-ray and streaming services. Unlike the next thing we saw with Regal Unlimited, which was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the movie just felt like a big misstep for me. It felt like it should have been rated PG in the vein of Goosebumps and House with a Clock in Its Walls. Even Goosebumps 2, this felt like a movie that was geared to be a horror movie introduction, man, for like a 10 to 12 year old. It felt very like, I know that's what Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark are, but why make the movie rated PG-13? It wasn't very scary. The cast was pretty poor in my opinion, not very good acting performances. It was laughable. The dialogue was laughable. The movie, like I said, wasn't very creepy. I enjoyed House with a Clock in Its Walls much more than this. Even, obviously, Goosebumps I loved. Goosebumps 2, which I didn't love, I liked more than this movie. There was one highlight, and I'll just leave it at calling it the Red Room scene. It was pretty cool, but other than that, the movie kind of just was meh. And a 1.5 out of 5 for me. It's not something that I will buy on home video. I will not watch it again. The next thing I watched was Diner. I do still have to watch Liberty Heights, but I checked out Diner on DVD. It's a movie that's been on my to-watch list for a long time. It stars Steve Guttenberg, Daniel Stern, Mickey Rourke, who I didn't even recognize, and Kevin Bacon. It takes place in 1950s Baltimore, I believe. It's about a group of guys, buddies, and Mickey Rourke's in gambling trouble, and the one guy's getting married but doesn't really want to get married, so he's like quizzing his wife on football trivia. It's the kind of movie where I really enjoy, just because it's about friendship, it's about humor, it's about just interactions with buddies, and it's a coming of age film. You know, the movie was made 37 years ago. It's from 1982. So like I said, Kevin Bacon's pretty easily recognizable. Daniel Stern, if you know it's Daniel Stern, you're like, oh, it's Daniel Stern from Home Alone. Steve Guttenberg still looks the same, but Mickey Rourke, I could not place Mickey Rourke's face with the character. Like I said, the characters had great chemistry. It was made in 82. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Diner, I gave a 4 out of 5 to. The next movie, I will start. I know you guys love this. Not only is it Hot Trash of the Month, but it is possibly Hot Trash of the Year. And if you watched one of my recent pickup videos, you'll know that I grabbed Benchwarmers 2, Breaking Balls. And I'm glad I'm recording this on a Sunday, because this movie will be going to Cinema Sickness tomorrow. And he can give me the $1 I paid for it and have it, because he's a completionist. This is not touching my shelves. This was garbage. You know it's a bad movie and a terrible story when in 2019 you can't get John Heder, Rob Schneider, or David Spade to sign on to it. The only person you can get is John Lovitz back from the original. This movie was a joke. Chris Klein should be ashamed of himself for getting paid to be in this movie. What else do I have written? Possibly one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It was that terrible to sit through. I think it's only an hour and 30 minutes. It was way too long. It should have been. It's brutal. I mean, you know in the first 3 minutes of the movie that it is going to be garbage, the way it starts out, and where the subtitle Breaking Balls comes from. Just unfunny, brutal to get through, terrible, half star if I have to give it a rating. I will no longer own this movie tomorrow. So, Benchwarmers 2, garbage. Next thing we saw was Good Boys, Regal Unlimited. So going into this movie, my big concern was a bunch of 12-year-olds being in a movie, cussing and basically talking like Seth Rogen talks in Superbad, or, you know, a typical high school comedy where characters are supposed to be 17, 18. I was afraid that this would be that movie, but with 12-year-olds, and it wasn't that. I was also afraid that it would lose its luster because it's a bunch of 12-year-olds cursing and being profane, but they nailed it, because yes, they were 12-year-olds that cursed, and I'm sure there are 12-year-olds who curse, but it's funny because they were really acting like 12-year-olds. The stuff they would do, the interactions they would have, the awkwardness of being in middle school was also there, but the humor was really funny. I thought the movie was really well done. I probably didn't put his name. The one character in the movie, not Jacob Tremblay, but the kid who in the trailer breaks his arm and it's all hanging down. he was hilarious in the movie. His high-pitched screams really made me laugh out loud, and just the way he acted. There are several laugh out loud moments. It's 90 minutes long, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. There's a lot of heart in the movie because it's 12-year-olds who are friends, and they're worried that now that they're in middle school, are they still going to be friends? Are they going to be best friends still? There's girls, and one of them definitely has caught feelings for girls much sooner than the others, which happens as, you know, a young preteen, or a tween now as they're called. But I just thought the movie was hilarious. Definitely something I will grab on Blu-ray when it comes out. No need to buy it on 4K. I don't think you're going to miss out on anything. But just a really fun, entertaining time. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. It was a good time. The next movie was a flick that we watched with RJ, Bridget, and myself. And a lot of you guys were pretty excited about me finding this out in the wild for like $8, as I was. And that is The Cable Guy, the 15th anniversary Blu-ray. RJ's a huge Jim Carrey fan, so we sat and watched this. This is known as Jim Carrey's venture into the dark comedies. And it's a dark comedy classic. There are classic scenes in the movie, such as the initial cable installation when he shows up for the first time, medieval times, and of course the password game played with the parents of Matthew Broderick. And you know, it's funny to see a young Jack Black, young Owen Wilson is in this movie. What's her name? She's married to Judd Apatow. Leslie Mann plays, you know, Matthew Broderick's ex in the film. And the movie's just weird in some places, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it definitely takes away from it in spots for me. Just falls flat in certain aspects. It is only like 96 minutes, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. I give it a 3 out of 5. I enjoy it. It's not something I'll watch all the time, but it was great to revisit it. RJ liked it, but he said he liked it, but I don't know how much he liked it. So, Cable Guy, 3 out of 5. The next thing we watched, RJ definitely enjoyed. I was definitely laughing out loud. It had been a very long time since I watched this, and it is Beverly Hills Ninja on DVD, starring Chris Farley, the late great. This movie is a blast. It is very slapsticky, more so than Black Sheep, although that was pretty slapsticky. Tommy Boy. It was a fun time. It's watching this now, it looks like the creators of Kung Fu Panda watched this movie and were like, we need to do this, but with animation, and Chris Farley's a panda bear. That's what it felt like to me. Very, very similar to Kung Fu Panda. The story is very similar. So Beverly Hills Ninja did it first, though. I was laughing out loud in multiple parts of this movie. There's a great scene with Will Sasso and Chris Farley. It was hilarious. It's a really funny movie. I forgot how funny this was. I really want to revisit Black Sheep in the near future. Tommy Boy I've seen probably hundreds of times. I don't think that's an exaggeration. But Black Sheep I want to revisit. This was a great time. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. It was a very fun watch. And we watched that with RJ, Bridget, and myself as well. And the last thing that Bridget, RJ, and I watched that particular weekend was Biodome on Blu-ray. And this is an Olive Films release, which is cool. So I loved this movie back in the day. I was a really big fan of it. And you know, this and Encino Man, In the Army Now. However, after rewatching this, I don't think it holds up as well for me as I was hoping it did. The movie's from '96, so I was 12 when it came out. I think that Encino Man is a much better, more enjoyable, funny movie. Turning the page. I do need to revisit In the Army Now and Jury Duty to see where they hold up compared to this. I ended up giving it a 2.5 out of 5. The highlight for me, though, is Tenacious D, the band, Jack Black and Kyle Gass, make an appearance in this. And I was very excited to see that, as it's been a long time. I was not a Tenacious D fan when I first saw this movie, so to see them on screen, singing about saving the freaking trees. Really made me chuckle, and not much else made me laugh in this movie. So Biodome, it's good, but not as good as I remember it. 2.5 out of 5. The next thing we saw was The Kitchen, Riedel Unlimited. So we went to the movies and we were either going to see The Kitchen or Lion King. And I'm not very excited about watching The Lion King. I'm getting very sick and tired of these Disney remakes. I'm not saying I'm not going to watch it, because I will eventually watch it. I really want to see Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen in Pumbaa and Timon's roles. But we ended up picking The Kitchen instead because it was both something that Bridget and myself wanted to see, and it was a decent crime drama. So I've told you guys this before, but after we watch newer movies, if Chris Stuckman, who's a YouTuber, a very, very popular YouTuber who does movie reviews, we come home and watch his reviews to kind of like compare our thoughts, because we have a conversation about the movie. We compare our thoughts to his thoughts, and a lot of times I agree with Chris. I think I say something, and then watching the video, he says basically the same thing. I was like, oh, we're on the same wavelength most of the time. He also loved Hereditary. I obviously did not, as you guys may know. But Chris Stuckman ripped this movie, said it was probably one of the worst things he had seen of 2019. I disagree. I think that it was good. I don't think it was great. It wasn't anything like, I don't necessarily need to buy it, but it wasn't awful. I wouldn't tell people, oh, don't go see that. That's brutal. I mean, obviously you didn't watch Benchwarmers 2. That is one of the worst movies of the year. But Elizabeth Moss in this movie was very good. She felt like the best character hands down, although she was probably in it the least out of the main three. The other two being Tiffany Haddish and Melissa McCarthy. Excuse me. It's definitely something worth watching. I don't think you have to, run out and buy it week one when it releases on 4K and Blu-ray. Yeah, I don't have much more to say. It was a decent crime drama. Wasn't awful. Wasn't great. I give it a 3 out of 5. The next thing I watched, I teased in a recent video as well at the very end. You guys gotta stay till the end sometimes. Sometimes I do something kooky and off the wall. But this movie, as you guys know, is one of my favorite movies of recent history. It's a movie that I say, give me a musical better than this the last 25, maybe 30 years. I don't think you can. I don't think Chicago or Moulin Rouge hold a candle to the movie, honestly. And that is my first viewing in 4K UHD of La La Land. God, look at that slip. This movie on 4K was absolutely beautiful. Probably a little biased to me, but the colors in the movie really pop. The opening scene was great in this movie. The scene where they dance on top of the hill, as you can see on this cover, was great. To say I love this movie is an understatement at this point. It's so great. I got sucked in right away. The 2 hours and 10 minutes flew by in it. The end of the movie, the basically montage, if you will, the alternate ending of their lives together, still pulls at my heartstrings every time. I just love the movie. Emma Stone's fantastic in the movie. The love of jazz music and old Hollywood is palpable in this movie as well. Like I said, I get teared up at the end montage of the movie every time I watch it. The music in the movie is awesome. If you haven't seen La La Land, go ahead and check it out. It might not be for you. I'm sure I'll get comments saying, get a life, La La Land's not that great. I think it's a phenomenal movie. Compared to any musical of the last 30 years. Sorry, yeah, okay. Is it as good as Singing in the Rain or West Side Story? Probably not, no. But is it better than Chicago, Moulin Rouge? Yeah, Les Mis, absolutely. I gave this a 5 out of 5. It is beautiful in UHD. If you have 4K and you're a fan of this movie, do yourself a favor, pick up a copy of it. It looks awesome. Look at that slip, man. That slip is hot. The next thing I watched was a movie that I checked out by myself. Bridget, I knew, had no interest in seeing it, and I did a video. It was pretty fun to do. I'll try to do it next time Bridget goes away. Basically, I did a video giving you guys a choice of 5 movies. You had about 24 hours to vote on which movie I should watch, and the one that had the most comments was the movie I watched. And there were 2 movies that were basically going back and forth. Sicario, Day of the Soldado, and Tomb Raider were just going back and forth. And then all of a sudden, overnight and the day of, Overlord just crushed it. Ended up winning by like 2 or 3 votes out of nowhere. So I watched Overlord, and the first 30 minutes of the movie, a war movie, very exciting. The opening scene with planes being shot down, very cool. It takes place in, World War II era in an alternate time frame, if you will. So it was great action, a great setup for an action movie. However, the middle 45 minutes of the movie happened, and I lost interest very quickly. Stuff wasn't happening. It was dragging. I started paying less attention, messing around on my phone. But then the last 30 minutes happen. It turns into this crazy, like, World War II zombie movie. Not that that's a spoiler if you've watched the trailers. And it got really good. I love the idea of having a non-campy World War II zombie movie. But the pacing of this movie is pretty tough. It's 110 minutes, so it's not too long. But they had a great idea for the story, but the execution just was not there. I think I gave this bad boy a 2.5. So this is like a meh, 2.5 out of 5. It's going to stay on the shelf for now. I don't necessarily want to sell it yet, but I don't know if I'll revisit it anytime soon. Overlord, 2.5. The next movie, number 14 of the month, that I watched was gifted to me by my buddy Joe Martinez. I'm sure you guys know what it is. It is the 4K of Alita, Battle Angel. Now, this is a movie, when it came out in movie theaters, I had no interest in watching it. The trailer looked okay to me, but also looked really weird to me. I'm not familiar with the source material, so that could be a big part of it. But I put off watching it. I was talking to Joe. I said I'm going to try to get it from Pam. He ended up reaching out to Pam and picked this up for me. So I made a promise to him that I would watch it sooner than later, which I did, because Joe has this movie so hyped up. Him and his girlfriend Marie both say it's their favorite movies of the year, or favorite movie of the year. So I went into it. Like I said, the trailers didn't excite me. However, this movie was a very fun time. It was a very enjoyable watch. I actually watched this with RJ and Bridget. It looked amazing in 4K. Probably the best looking 4K movie I've seen yet. I had issues with the love story in the film, and I don't want to go into too many details and spoilers. I try to keep my reviews and my thoughts very, spoiler free, unless it's something that's super old, then I might be a little more lenient. But the romance in this movie, I felt like it was done to further the storyline of the film, but it felt really unnecessary to the film as well. But the action was incredibly well done and just outright enjoyable. I also got feelings, and maybe this is a controversial take, I got feelings of Ready Player One watching this movie. Especially in some of the, what was it called? Battle ball, rollerball. It felt like rollerball. I think it's called Battle Ball, which is the game they play in this future. But there's many questions that are left. There's a character in the movie who's the main bad guy that you don't really see. When it's revealed who plays that bad guy at the end of the movie, I was like, I need the sequel. We need him in the movie. I'm very excited. Plus, the movie just leaves things unanswered. You want to see a sequel. You want to see more of this world and where they're going to go with it. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Don't know if it'll make my top 10 of the year. I don't think it will, but it'll most likely be an honorable mention. But Alita Battle Angel is definitely a fun watch. Definitely something I would watch again. Thank you again, Joe, for sending this over. Really looked forward to seeing it after you had hyped it up, and it was good. Not as great as, or as much as you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. A 4 out of 5. Alita Battle Angel, definitely check it out. The last 3 things I don't have physical. Ready or Not, we saw via Regal Unlimited, and this movie was a fun time at the movies all around. It's advertised as a horror movie. Don't really know if I'd say it's a horror movie. It's definitely more... Excuse me, guys. We went to a wedding last night. I'm pretty tired, trying to get through, but sorry for yawning in your face. It's a great mixture of comedy and suspense. Like I said, not very much a horror movie. I will say this is a breakout role for Samara Weaving. She plays the lead role in the film. She was fantastic in the movie. She was hilarious. She was great in the movie. She made the movie so much more enjoyable. I think any other actress in this movie, well, not any, you know what I mean, just like any other star in this movie, the movie wouldn't have been nearly as enjoyable or fun. Samara Weaving killed it. Aspects of this movie and certain characters felt disposable, but it was a fun time. It's worth checking out. If it's still playing in theaters near you, go ahead and check it out. It's a fun time at the movies. It's like a nice 95 to 100 minutes, I think. Fun time. 3.5 out of 5 for me. I really enjoyed it. The next thing, Pet Sematary, the 2019 version. Watch this on Blu-ray from DVD.com. Signed up for another month of DVD.com. Although it probably wasn't the greatest idea for me to do since we're trying to watch Harry Potter movies. But they sent me a month free trial, so I gotta take advantage, get some other stuff. We're actually going to probably watch 5 Feet Apart tonight on Blu-ray that we got from DVD.com. But Pet Sematary, I'm going to start off by saying I've never seen the original Pet Sematary. Don't really have interest in seeing it. This one looked interesting enough for me to sit and check it out without paying for it. And it was okay. There was a little bit of creepy stuff, but the story felt pretty bland. The performances felt pretty bland to me. And I don't have much else to say. I can't really compare it to anything else that I've seen. But it's nothing I have to go by. I don't have to watch it. I'm not more intrigued to watch the original, although I heard there's stuff that's changed. I'm not rushing out to see it. I give it a 1.5 out of 5. And the last thing I watched in August was Can You Ever Forgive Me on HBO. This was a rewatch for us. I really enjoyed the movie the first time. It's about Lee Israel, an author who was known for writing biographies, and she was kind of down on her luck. And she's doing some research in a library and finds an autographed letter from Fanny Bryce. I want to say she finds an autographed letter from Fanny Bryce, and she sells the letter to a local bookstore. And then she basically finds out that autographed letters by authors or other important people go for really good money. And it allows her to write some letters. And basically she starts counterfeiting letters and autographs based on, her own writings, but as these other people. I think Melissa McCarthy is excellent in the movie. She's somebody who I got really tired of in the R-rated comedy role of slapstick stupidity. I thought Tammy was awful. I wasn't a big fan of The Heat. I know I've talked about it before. I kind of just got burnt out on Melissa McCarthy, and she came and did this. And there's comedy in the movie, but also a lot of drama. And I think her and Richard E. Grant together were great. They had a great chemistry in the film, and the movie's just really enjoyable. It actually makes me want to read the book. It was written by Lee Israel about what happens, and I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. If you have HBO, definitely check it out. The Blu-ray is pretty pricey for this one because it was initially only released on DVD, and then I think they made like a MOD Blu-ray of it, or just a limited run Blu-ray. So it's out there, but it's like $25 to $30. Even used, it goes for a lot of money. I don't know if I would go pay $30 for it blind, but if you have HBO, check it out. If you can find it inexpensive, check it out. You don't necessarily need to watch it on Blu-ray. I do want the Blu-ray in my collection at some point. I enjoyed it a lot. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It was one of my, I want to say top 20 last year, because I don't think I did a top 10. I think I did a top 20. And that's it, guys. That is everything I watched in August of 2019, except for Harry Potter movies, which that video, like I said, will be coming probably in two to 3 weeks. So that's it. Thank you for watching, of course. Be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you don't already. It's much appreciated. Also, hit the bell notification so you guys can know when new videos are dropped by me. In the description box, you can also find links to my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that can be found down below. Letterboxd, where I rate and review all the movies that I watch. My eBay page, my Blu-ray.com page, all that can be found down below, along with my P.O. box and email address. And that's it, guys. So, as always, until next time, I should probably take a nap, but I'm not going to because I'm going to record more videos. Who's down to movie?